The sky was red like fire. Ash fell slowly, covering the broken city like snow. Towers that once touched the clouds now lay in pieces, silent and cold. Streets were empty, filled only with smoke and shadows. In the middle of this ruined world walked a lone figure. She was not human. Her skin carried a faint glow, silver blue under the red light. Her eyes were large and full of sadness. She moved carefully as if each step hurt. Her name was lost to history now, but in her heart she was still the last daughter of her people. Everything she loved was gone. Her home, her family, her friends. The war had ended, but it had left nothing behind except ruins. She clutched a crystal close to her chest. It was small, glowing softly, the last memory of her world. This crystal once connected her to her people, but now, silence, no voices, no warmth, only emptiness. She whispered in her language, a prayer no one else could understand. The sound was weak, shaking, almost broken. It was the sound of someone trying not to cry because there was no one left to hear. Her legs were tired, her body thin from hunger, but she kept walking. Somewhere deep inside, she believed she was not meant to die yet. Perhaps the crystal wanted her to live. Perhaps destiny was not finished with her. Then she froze. A sound cut through the silence. A deep hum, like metal engines breaking the still air. She looked up. Her heart jumped in fear. Through the thick clouds, a shape descended. A ship, but not an alien ship. Not one of her people. Its design was different, strong, square, built for war. She had seen this kind before. It was human. Her breath caught. The humans had come. Panic filled her chest. She remembered the screams, the battles, the endless fire. Humans were the reason her city burned. They were the reason her people vanished. She stumbled backward, gripping the crystal tighter. The ship landed on the cracked ground with a heavy thud. Dust rose high into the air. Lights shone from its sides, sweeping over the ruins like searching eyes. A door hissed open and shadows moved inside. Figures stepped out. Humans. There were 4 of them wearing armored suits, their faces hidden behind helmets. They carried weapons. Sharp, powerful machines that could kill with a single shot. Their voices came through static, low and strange, speaking a language she could not fully understand. The alien girl hid quickly behind a broken wall, her body trembling. She dared to peek just enough to see. The humans walked slowly, scanning the ruins. One of them knelt down, touching the ground, taking samples. Another raised a small device that clicked and beeped. They were exploring, searching for something. Her mind raced. Why are they here? Do they want to destroy more? Or are they hunting survivors like me? Then she noticed something. One of the humans separated from the group. He moved more carefully than the others, almost quietly. His weapon hung by his side, not raised. He looked around, not with anger, but with curiosity. His head tilted as if he was listening to the silence of the ruins. Her heart pounded harder. She pressed her back against the wall, holding the crystal. Its soft glow betrayed her position, so she covered it with both hands. But it was too late. The human saw it. He stopped. Slowly he walked closer, bending down. His gloved hand reached forward and picked up a shard of glowing glass from the ground. Not her crystal, but a broken piece of her city's technology. He turned it in his hand, studying it with strange focus. The alien girl's breath caught in her throat. She thought, he will take it. He will steal what little is left of us. Her fingers dug into the crystal. Anger mixed with fear. She could not let them take everything. Not again. The humans spoke to each other. Their voices echoed in the empty air. She could not understand, but the way they pointed, the way they moved, it was clear. They were mapping her world, claiming it as their own. Her eyes burned with rage. For a moment she forgot fear. For a moment she wanted to fight. The human holding the shard turned his head, scanning the shadows. His gaze stopped near her hiding place, her chest tightened. Could he see her? Did he know she was there? The silence between them grew heavy like a storm about to break. She had 2 choices. Run and hope they did not follow, or stay hidden and pray they would leave. But deep inside, a thought whispered, maybe they are not here to destroy. Maybe they are here for something else. Yet the memories of fire and screams were too strong. She could not trust them. Not yet. The human stepped closer. Dust crunched under his boots. He was only a few steps away now. The glow of his helmet lights cut through the shadows, shining on the broken wall where she hid. Her hands shook. The crystal pulsed like a heartbeat. This moment would decide everything. The human's light moved across the cracked wall, growing brighter with every step. The alien girl pressed her body against the stone, her breath shallow, her heart pounding like a drum inside her chest. She wanted to run, but her legs felt heavy, frozen by fear. The human stopped only a few steps away. He looked down at the broken ground, then lifted the glowing shard in his hand. His helmet reflected the soft red glow of the dying sky. For a moment he seemed lost in thought, almost respectful. The girl's sharp eyes narrowed. Respect? No. Humans don't respect. They destroy. She clenched her crystal tighter, ready to defend it if needed. Then something unexpected happened. The human knelt down. He carefully placed the shard back onto the ground instead of taking it. He brushed the dust away as if giving honor to the ruins. His gloved hand rested for a second on the stone, almost like a silent apology. The alien girl's chest tightened. This was not the behavior she expected. Her memories were filled with fire, screaming, and blood. Humans were killers. But this one, his actions were different. Before she could decide what to think, another human's voice echoed from the distance. The soldier raised his head, turned, and replied in his strange language. The others seemed to call him back. But he didn't leave. Instead, he slowly reached into his pack. The girl's eyes widened. A weapon? Her body tensed. If he raised a gun, she would fight. But what came out was not a gun. It was something small, wrapped in plastic. The soldier unwrapped it and placed it gently on a piece of clean stone. It was food, a ration pack. He pushed it forward just a little and then backed away, raising his empty hands. The alien girl's mouth went dry. She had not eaten properly in days. Hunger clawed inside her stomach, but fear held her back. This could be a trap. Humans had tricks. The soldier didn't move closer. He just stood there, breathing slowly. His helmet tilted as if he was watching, waiting. The girl's hand shook. She looked at the food, then at him. Her mind raced. Why would he offer this? Why not just shoot me? Why waste kindness on the last of my kind? Her stomach growled loudly, betraying her. The sound echoed in the quiet ruins. The human tilted his head again, almost as if he had heard something human inside that sound. Slowly, he pushed the food a little closer, then stepped back again. His body language was calm, patient. The girl's fear wrestled with her hunger. Finally, her trembling fingers reached out from behind the wall. She snatched the food quickly like a wild creature and pulled back into hiding. The soldier didn't chase. He didn't laugh. He didn't call his team. He just stood there silently watching. The girl tore the packet open with her sharp nails. Inside was a dry bar that smelled strange, but her body didn't care. She ate fast, swallowing without chewing much. Each bite hurt her throat but filled her with life again. As she ate, she peeked once more. The soldier was still there. His weapon hung low, untouched. His helmet lights glowed, but his stance was not threatening. For a strange moment, she wondered if he was protecting her instead of hunting her. But the others were still near. Their voices carried through the ruins, their boots heavy on stone. If they found her, she would not survive. The soldier looked over his shoulder, listening. Then he turned back to the shadow where she hid. Slowly, carefully, he touched his helmet and pressed a button. The glass visor faded, and for the first time she saw his face. He was young. His eyes were tired, carrying pain, but there was no hatred there. Only something softer. Something she hadn't seen in humans before. Sorrow. Her chest ached with confusion. Why does he look sad? Why does he look like me, broken inside? For a moment their eyes locked. Two survivors of different worlds staring at each other through silence. Then shouts came from the other humans. Louder this time. They were searching closer. The soldier quickly pulled his visor down again, hiding his face. He looked at the wall one last time, then stepped back, pretending to be scouting the ruins. To anyone else, it looked like he had found nothing. The girl remained frozen, food in her hand, crystal clutched tightly. Her thoughts raced. Why did he help me? Why did he hide me? The soldier walked away, rejoining his team. But before he disappeared into the smoke, he looked back once, just once. His gaze lingered for a heartbeat longer than needed, and then he was gone. The girl sat in the shadows, her heart still racing. She should feel relief. She should feel safe now that they were leaving. But instead, she felt something else. Curiosity. Why did that human act different? Why did he show kindness when he had every reason not to? For the first time since the war ended, she felt a spark of something strange. It was not trust, not yet, but it was enough to stir a thought she hadn't allowed herself in a long time. Maybe I'm not as alone as I thought. Her crystal glowed faintly in her hands, pulsing like a heartbeat. The ruins were still silent, but in her chest the silence had cracked, and that single crack was enough for something new to enter. Hope. The ruins were quiet again. The human soldier had walked away, but the alien girl's heart still beat fast. She held the crystal close, its glow steady and soft against her chest. The food he left gave her strength, but it also gave her questions. Why did he help her? Why did he hide her from the others? Humans never gave without reason. She tried to push the thought away. She had survived this long by trusting no one. If she allowed herself to believe in kindness, she would die. Still, her eyes kept searching the distance, half expecting him to return. Then she made a mistake. As she shifted her weight to stand, her foot slipped on loose stone. The sound was sharp in the silence, echoing through the broken street. She froze. From across the ruins came voices, human voices growing louder. Boots struck stone. Lights flickered between shadows. The other soldiers were close, too close. Panic surged through her. She pressed against the wall, praying they hadn't heard. But the glow of her crystal betrayed her, even as she tried to cover it. Its pulse sent faint light spilling across the broken stone. A shout rang out. The humans had seen. The alien girl ran. Her thin legs carried her through the wreckage, her steps fast but unsteady. The ground shook with every boot behind her. Lights flashed against walls, beams cutting through smoke. Shouts filled the air. Target sighted. One voice roared. A blast of energy struck the ground near her, sending dust and sparks into the air. The noise burned her ears, the heat grazing her skin. She stumbled but kept moving. Fear clawed at her chest. She knew what humans did to survivors. They would not show her mercy like the one soldier did. If they caught her, she would lose everything. The crystal, her life, her last hope. She darted into a narrow alley between two fallen towers. Her body pressed against the cold stone as another blast struck the wall behind her. Fragments rained down, cutting her arms, but she did not stop. The humans were close now. Their heavy boots pounded the ground. Their weapons hissed, charging with deadly light. "Don't let it escape," another shouted. Her mind screamed. "I am not an it. I am the last of my people." She turned a corner sharply, hoping to lose them in the maze of ruins. For a moment, silence returned. Only her breathing filled the air. She clutched the crystal tighter, whispering a prayer. Then she felt it. The air shift behind her. She spun, and there he was. The same human soldier from before. He stood only a few steps away, his weapon lowered but his eyes sharp. His visor was down again, hiding his face. Her body tensed. She bared her teeth, a low sound escaping her throat. With a burst of anger, she lunged forward, trying to snatch the shard he had taken earlier, thinking he still carried it. The human didn't raise his weapon. He didn't fight back. Instead, he staggered under her sudden strike but kept his arms open, defensive, not aggressive. "Wait." His voice was loud but not cruel. She didn't understand the words, but the tone, calm, desperate, slowed her attack. Her sharp nails grazed his armor but did not cut through. She panted, glaring at him, her chest rising and falling with wild breath. The human raised his free hand slowly. No weapon, no threat. Then, with his other hand, he reached into his pack again. The girl flinched, ready to run. But what he pulled out was not a gun. It was another piece of food. He placed it on the ground between them, sliding it forward. She blinked, confused. This didn't make sense. Why chase her? Why risk being seen by his own kind only to offer kindness again? But before she could think further, the voices returned. The other soldiers were near. Their lights glowed brighter, bouncing off broken stone. The human soldier looked over his shoulder, then back at her. His body language was urgent now. He gestured with his hand, pushing forward, pointing down a side passage. His movements were clear. Run, escape, now. The alien girl hesitated. Could she trust him? Or was this another trick? A blast struck nearby, sending shards of stone flying. She had no choice. She darted into the dark passage, her thin frame vanishing into shadows. Behind her, the human soldier stepped into view, blocking the path just as the others arrived. "What did you see?" one of them demanded. "Nothing," the soldier replied quickly. "Just ruins." The others didn't believe him at first. Their weapons swept across the passage, lights piercing the darkness. The alien girl pressed herself against the wall, holding her breath. After a tense moment, they lowered their guns. "Keep searching," another said. "It's out here somewhere." Boots pounded away, scattering through the ruins. The soldier stayed behind for a second longer. Slowly, carefully, he glanced over his shoulder, into the shadows where she hid. He didn't speak, but his gaze lingered, steady and firm. Then he followed the others, disappearing into the red haze. The alien girl slid down the wall, her body shaking. Her hands trembled around the crystal, its glow soft against her chest. She should hate him. She should fear him. But twice now he had spared her. Twice he had chosen mercy over violence. Her thoughts spun in circles. Why? Why him? Why now? The ruins around her felt the same. Cold, broken, empty. But her heart no longer matched them. Something inside had shifted. Fear was still there, but now it was tangled with something else, something she hadn't felt in so long that she almost didn't recognize it. Curiosity. And beneath that, buried deep, something even more dangerous. The fragile beginning of trust. The night was quiet, but it was not peaceful. The ruins still breathed with smoke, and the air carried the memory of war. The alien girl sat in the shadows of a broken tower, clutching her glowing crystal close to her chest. She had escaped, for now, but her mind was restless. She kept seeing the soldier's face, the way he had placed food on the ground, the way he had stood between her and the others, the way he had lied for her. Why? No human had ever spared her kind. No human had ever treated her people as anything but enemies. Yet twice this one had protected her. It did not make sense. Her body shook with exhaustion, but sleep did not come. Every sound made her tense, every shadow made her heart race. Then a soft crunch of footsteps reached her ears. Her eyes widened. She pressed herself tighter into the wall, her hand glowing faintly as she raised the crystal like a weapon. From the mist, he appeared. The same soldier, alone. Her pulse quickened. Instinct screamed, "Run!" But her legs refused. Instead, she watched him, her gaze sharp, ready to fight if he came closer. He stopped a few steps away, lowering his weapon until it touched the ground. His hands lifted slowly, empty, open. A gesture she was beginning to understand. He spoke. The words were strange, heavy with static through his helmet. She could not understand the meaning, but the tone was gentle. Not sharp, not commanding, almost soft. She frowned, clutching the crystal tighter. "Stay back," she whispered in her own tongue, though she knew he couldn't understand. The soldier tilted his head as if listening anyway. Then slowly he reached into his pack again. The girl's breath caught. But when he pulled something out, it was not food this time. It was small, round, and metal, a human trinket. He held it carefully in his palm, then set it down on the stone between them. He backed away, leaving it there. Cautious, she leaned forward. The object glimmered faintly under the red sky. She recognized it, not from her people but from human culture. It was a pendant worn around the neck. Inside was a tiny picture, too small for her to see clearly. Her eyes flicked back to him. He touched his chest, then the pendant, then his helmet. His movements were slow, deliberate. He was trying to show her something. Curiosity won over fear. She crawled closer and picked it up. Inside the pendant, under scratched glass, was the face of another human. A young man, smiling, her gaze softened. She looked back at the soldier. His head bowed slightly. The meaning was clear, even without words. Someone he lost. Her fingers trembled. She touched her own chest, then held up her glowing crystal. The light pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. She pointed at it, then lowered her head the way he had. For the first time, they shared silence that was not tense, not hostile. It was heavy with something else, recognition both had lost. Both carried pain. Both were survivors of a war that took too much. The soldier slowly sat down on the rubble, his weapon still far from his hands. His posture was calm, patient, like he was waiting. His visor dimmed, and once again his face appeared. The alien girl studied him. His eyes looked tired, lined with grief, but not cruel. He was human, yes, but in his expression, she saw something she had not seen in a long time. Familiar sorrow. She lowered her crystal slightly. Not completely. She was not ready for full trust, but enough to show she would not strike. Minutes passed in silence, broken only by the distant crackle of fire. Neither moved much. They did not share words, but they shared presence. For two souls who had been alone for too long, it was more than enough. The soldier broke the stillness by pointing to himself. His voice spoke one word, muffled but clear. A name. The girl tilted her head, listening. She could not pronounce it, not in her tongue, but she understood its meaning. A name was not just sound, it was identity. She hesitated, then whispered her own name in her language. It was soft, flowing, alien. He repeated it, clumsy but earnest. The sound was broken, almost wrong, but it carried effort. For the first time in what felt like forever, her lips curved. Not into a full smile, too much pain lingered for that, but into the ghost of one. The human noticed. His expression shifted just slightly. Relief. It was not trust, not yet. But it was the first thread of connection. Then distant voices cut through the night. The soldier's head snapped toward the sound. His comrades were near again. He rose quickly, picking up his pendant, slipping it back into his pack. He gestured at her with urgency. Stay hidden. Don't move. The girl clutched her crystal, watching him leave. Her chest ached strangely as he disappeared into the haze once more. For the first time, she did not feel only fear when a human left her sight. She felt something else, something small but dangerous. Hope, and hope, she realized, was harder to kill than even the strongest weapon. The ruins slept in uneasy silence. The alien girl remained hidden in the hollow of a broken tower, clutching her crystal close. The warmth of her brief meeting with the human soldier lingered in her chest, like a small fire keeping the darkness away. For the first time in years, she had felt a piece of something she thought was gone forever. Connection. But hope was fragile, and the world was not kind. The heavy sound of boots shattered the night. Multiple voices, sharp and commanding, cut through the smoke. The girl's heart raced. She pressed herself deeper into the stone, covering the crystal's glow with both hands. The soldiers were back. Through the cracks in the wall, she saw them. 3 humans in full armor, their weapons raised, their helmet light slicing through the shadows. They moved with purpose, searching carefully, leaving no corner unchecked. One of them spoke in a firm voice. She could not understand the words, but she knew the tone. They were hunting. Her body trembled. She remembered the soldier who had shown her kindness, but these men were different. Their movements were sharp, their stances heavy with violence. There was no softness in them. If they found her, they would not offer food or mercy. They would end her. A beam of light swept across her hiding place. She held her breath, praying it would pass. For a moment, it did. The humans turned away, moving down the ruined street. Relief washed over her, too soon. A small stone slipped from her trembling hand, striking the ground with a soft crack. The nearest soldier froze. His helmet turned sharply. The beam of his light snapped back, landing on the wall that hid her. He shouted, his voice harsh and certain. The other 2 joined him, weapons raised. Steps pounded closer. Panic burned through her veins. She bolted from her hiding place, her thin frame darting into the open. Target! Target spotted. The night exploded with sound. Blasts of energy struck the ground near her feet, lighting up the ruins in bright flashes. Dust and sparks filled the air as she ran, clutching the crystal tight against her chest. Her lungs burned, her legs ached, but fear pushed her forward. She ducked behind a broken wall, her body shaking as another blast tore through stone inches above her head. She was trapped. The soldiers closed in, forming a half-circle around the ruins. Their weapons glowed, humming with deadly power. One of them raised a hand, signaling to fire, and then, "Stop!" A voice cut through the chaos. The soldiers turned. The 4th figure stepped into the light. The one she recognized. The one who had given her food. The soldier. Her chest tightened. His visor reflected the glow of their weapons as he moved quickly between them and her. His hands were raised, his body tense. "What are you doing?" One of the others barked. The soldier spoke, his tone firm. She couldn't understand the words, but his posture was clear. He was trying to stop them. The others hesitated. "It's a survivor," one said. "It's dangerous. Orders are to eliminate." The soldier shook his head sharply. His hand pointed at her, then back to them, his voice heated now. The sound carried urgency, almost desperation. The alien girl's breath caught. He was defending her. The leader of the group stepped forward, his weapon still trained on her. His voice dropped lower, more serious. He spoke directly to the soldier. Whatever he said made the air heavier, colder. The kind soldier stood frozen. His hands curled into fists at his sides. For a moment, she saw the battle inside him. the struggle between obedience and something stronger. Finally, he moved. He stepped fully into their line of fire, placing his body between the alien girl and the others. His stance was steady, his weapon still at his side. "No," his voice rang out. The silence that followed was heavier than the blasts of their guns. The other soldiers stiffened. Their lights swept over him, uncertain now. Their voices grew sharp, angry. He argued back, his tone filled with conviction. She couldn't understand the words, but she understood the choice. He was standing against his own kind. For her, the leader lowered his weapon slightly, but not enough. He barked an order, sharp and final. The other soldiers hesitated, their helmets turning between their leader and their comrade. The kind soldier didn't move. The alien girl's chest burned with confusion. Why would a human defy his own people for her? Why risk everything when he could have stepped aside? The standoff stretched long, the air crackling with danger. One wrong move, one sudden breath, and death would strike. Then, in a swift motion, the soldier turned his head. His eyes met hers through his visor, steady and certain. He whispered a single word. She could not understand it, but she understood its meaning. "Run." Her legs obeyed before her mind could catch up. She darted into the shadows, the crystal glowing faintly as she disappeared deeper into the ruins. Behind her, shouts erupted. Boots thundered against the ground. The soldier's voice rose above the chaos, arguing, fighting, resisting, but she did not look back. Her heart ached. Torn between fear and something else she didn't want to name. The human had made his choice, and now, she had to make hers. The ruins shook with sound. Shouts of soldiers echoed across the broken city. The alien girl's thin legs carried her through smoke and shadow, her chest burning with each breath. The crystal pulsed against her chest like a heartbeat, glowing brighter as fear raced through her. Behind her, boots thundered. Human voices barked orders. Weapons fired blasts, striking the walls around her, sending sparks and dust into the air. She stumbled, nearly falling, but a hand caught her arm. She twisted in panic until she saw him, the soldier. His visor gleamed under the red sky, but his grip was firm, steady. "This way," he shouted, though she did not understand the words. His tone was urgent, commanding, but not cruel. He pulled her forward, dragging her down a narrow passage between shattered buildings. She resisted for a moment. Fear screamed inside her, but then another blast tore through the street behind her. She had no choice. Together, they ran. The path twisted through rubble, sharp and jagged. Twice she almost slipped, but the soldier caught her each time, steadying her without slowing down. His armor clanked against stone, his breaths heavy but controlled. Behind them, the other soldiers gave chase. Their light sliced through the darkness, beams searching, closing in. "They're getting closer," one voice shouted. The soldier gritted his teeth. He pulled the alien girl into a collapsed tunnel, half buried under stone. They crawled inside, the walls pressing tight around them. Dust filled the air, thick and choking. The girl coughed, holding the crystal close. Its glow lit the cramped space, casting shadows across the soldier's face as he turned toward her. His visor dimmed, revealing his eyes. They were sharp, focused, but burning with something more, determination. He raised a finger to his lips. "Quiet." She nodded, trembling. Voices rang outside the tunnel. Heavy boots crunched over stone. Light pierced cracks in the rubble, sweeping dangerously close. The girl held her breath. Every muscle in her body screamed to run, but she stayed still. The soldier crouched beside her, his weapon ready but silent. For a long moment, time froze. Then slowly the voices faded. The boots grew distant. The soldier exhaled low and controlled. He turned to her, motioning deeper into the tunnel. They crawled forward together, the space so narrow she could hear his armor scrape against stone. The tunnel opened suddenly into a wide chamber underground. Broken walls curved like ribs around them, ancient and forgotten. Strange markings covered the stone, symbols from her people. The alien girl gasped softly. This place was old, sacred. She remembered being a child and hearing stories of the tunnels beneath the city, safe places built for times of war. Her eyes filled with tears. Her people had once walked here. Now she was the last. The soldier noticed her reaction. He lowered his weapon, giving her space. His gaze softened as if he understood the weight of the moment. She placed the crystal against one of the old markings. For a second, the walls glowed faintly, reacting to its light, Memories stirred like whispers of voices long gone. Her chest tightened. She was not only running for survival, she was carrying the last fragments of her world. But the moment ended quickly. The soldier's head snapped up. He heard something, boots distant but approaching. The others were still searching. He motioned quickly, pointing down a darker passage that led deeper underground. His urgency was clear. They had to keep moving. The girl hesitated, her fingers lingering on the glowing wall. But then she looked at him. His eyes were sharp but not cold. He wasn't forcing her. He was protecting her, she nodded. Together they ran deeper into the tunnels. The air grew colder, the silence heavier. Only the sound of their footsteps echoed against the stone. The girl's body shook with exhaustion, but the soldier stayed close, slowing his pace to match hers. Behind them, voices grew louder again. The soldiers had found the entrance. Lights flickered in the distance. "They're in here," someone shouted. The chase began again. The alien girl's heart raced. She clutched the crystal tighter, the glow bright in the dark. It was both her strength and her weakness, guiding her but also exposing her. The soldier noticed. He gestured to her chest, shaking his head. She understood. With trembling hands, she wrapped the crystal in cloth, dimming its light. The darkness pressed around them, but it kept them hidden. Blasts rang out, striking the walls. Stone cracked, dust falling from the ceiling. The tunnels shook. "Faster," the soldier urged, his hand guiding her forward. They sprinted through narrow halls, past collapsed chambers, over broken bridges. The air grew hotter, filled with smoke and ash. The ground shook again, an explosion somewhere above. The soldier glanced back. Their pursuers were closing in. Then he spotted something ahead, a gap in the wall, a hidden passage half buried by debris. He shoved the stone aside with all his strength, opening a narrow way through. "Go!" he shouted, pushing her inside. The girl crawled through the gap, her body scraping against jagged stone. The crystal pulsed faintly in her hands. She stumbled into another chamber, wide and hollow, lit only by cracks of red light from above. She turned back. The soldier squeezed through the gap, just as blasts tore into the wall behind him. The entrance collapsed, ceiling shut in a roar of falling stone. Silence followed. The soldier leaned against the wall, breathing hard. His armor was scratched, his face streaked with dirt. But he was alive. The girl's hands trembled. She stared at him, her chest tight. He had risked everything again. His life, his place among his people, just to keep her safe. For a moment they stood in silence, staring at each other. Two enemies who should not have been together, bound by danger and something deeper. Above them, the war-torn sky rumbled. The humans outside were still searching, but down here in the shadows of the old world, they were together, not safe. Not yet, but alive. The tunnels trembled with the weight of footsteps above. The alien girl pressed her back against the cold wall, clutching the crystal so tightly her knuckles ached. The soldier stood near her, his weapon ready but his eyes calm, steady. They were alive, but not safe. The voices of his comrades echoed faintly through the cracks. They were searching. They would not stop. The girl's heart pounded. She had run her whole life, always hiding, always fearing. Now she was trapped. This chamber could be their last refuge, or their grave. The soldier studied the walls, looking for another way out. His visor light swept across the broken stone. Finally, he found a passage leading upward, a shaft, narrow and jagged, opening toward the ruined surface. He turned to her, motioning upward. His meaning was clear: climb, escape. Her eyes widened. Escape alone? She shook her head, gripping the crystal tighter. She could not leave him here, but his hands pressed firmly against her shoulders. His gaze was sharp, urgent, but behind it was something softer. He was willing to stay, willing to fight for her. Her throat tightened. She whispered in her own tongue, though she knew he couldn't understand. "Why? Why me?" He didn't answer with words. Instead, he pulled the pendant from his pack, the small metal locket with the picture inside. He opened it, showing her again. Then he pointed at her. The meaning struck her like lightning. He had lost family. She reminded him of what he could not save. Protecting her was his choice, his redemption. Tears filled her eyes. For so long she thought humans were only destroyers. But this one was proof that kindness could survive even in the ruins of war. Before she could react, a deafening crash split the air. The chamber door exploded inward. Dust and fire filled the space as soldiers stormed inside, their weapons glowing with deadly light. "Stand down," a voice thundered. The girl stumbled back, fear clawing at her chest. Her crystal pulsed wildly, glowing bright enough to light the room. The soldier stepped forward, his weapon at his side. He raised one hand high, blocking their view of her. His stance was unshakable. "Move aside," the leader barked. His weapon pointed directly at the alien girl, but the soldier didn't move. Instead, his voice rang out strong and clear. She couldn't understand his words, but the meaning was written in his body. He was protecting her. Not as an enemy, not as a mission, but as a life worth saving. The others hesitated. Their weapons trembled, lights flickering across the dust. "It's an alien," one said. "It's dangerous. Orders are orders." The soldier shook his head fiercely. His voice broke with emotion now. His hand pressed against his chest, then pointed back at the alien girl. The leader's visor turned sharply toward him. His voice grew colder, cutting. "You betray us?" The air grew heavy. The girl's breath caught. This was it, the moment where everything would break. The soldier lowered his weapon, letting it fall with a heavy clang to the stone floor. He raised both hands, not in surrender, but in defiance. He stood tall, his body between the alien girl and every gun in the room. "No," he said firmly. The silence that followed was louder than any explosion. The soldiers froze. They weren't sure what to do. Their comrade, one of their own, had chosen to stand against them. His voice shook with conviction. He wasn't asking. He was commanding. The alien girl's chest ached. She could barely breathe. Her whole life she had been hunted, hated, alone. Now for the first time someone stood for her, not her people. Not her kind, a human. The standoff stretched like an eternity. The leader's weapon remained raised, but his hands trembled. The others shifted uneasily, their loyalty shaken by the sight of one soldier's courage. Finally, the leader growled a sharp command. His men hesitated, then lowered their weapons. The alien girl's knees went weak. She could hardly believe it. She was still alive. The soldier turned slowly, his eyes finding hers. Through the dust and danger, his gaze held steady. She clutched the crystal against her chest. Its glow softer now, calmer. For the first time, she whispered words she never thought she would say to a human. "Thank you." He didn't understand the language, but he understood the meaning. They climbed the shaft together, step by step, until at last the ruined surface opened before them. The night sky stretched wide, filled with red clouds and faint stars. The alien girl stood at the edge of the ruins, breathing the open air. For the first time since her world ended, she did not feel completely broken. She looked at the soldier who stood quietly beside her. Two survivors. Two enemies. Two souls bound not by war but by choice. The crystal pulsed in her hand, warm and alive. She realized now it wasn't just a relic of the past. It was a symbol of the present. A reminder that even when everything is lost, one spark of compassion can survive. She turned her gaze to the horizon, where faint light touched the clouds. A new dawn was coming, and this time she wasn't alone.